It's time to talk Red Sox baseball. First pitch is next, guys. What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 71 of Bringing the Heat. My name's Cody Pyatt, and with me, as always, the 4th-team fastball co-host, Will Sism. We're just going to dive in. We're going to start talking about our collective, as a show, favorite team, the Boston Red Sox. No. In all seriousness, we're going to get into what we're going to talk about. American League is going to be great. But before we do that, Will, as you take a sip of your drink, I'm going to keep chatting.
Yep.
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing wonderful. Hey, baseball season is officially here.
Yeah.
Spring training's in high gear. We're talking American League today. Fantasy drafts are happening in full force just about.
Mm-hmm.
So really fun couple of weeks as we lead into opening day, and really looking forward to talking a lot of American League and some news today.
Oh, it's going to be great. Just like last week, guys, 70 was National League breakdown. We're going to do a little look-see at the American League. I'm pretty excited about it because I feel like we're going to disagree on some stuff. And
Yeah.
I say that. We might not. We'll see what happens. But before we dive in, let's talk a little news. Just a couple things, Will. Matt Chapman got signed. Another Boris client goes. And what I'm going to just call it the Carlos Correa special because it's another 3-year deal with opt-outs after every season, dude. He's headed back to the Bay Area, San Francisco Giants, on a 3-year, $54 million guarantee. Rumors before the offseason started is that Toronto offered him over $100 million in extension for maybe like 5 or 6 years. So that's pretty tough. The first year is $20 million per season, which is also the number that the tag is at. Will late night record, help me out, dude. The
luxury tax?
No, the like the salary cap tag in football, not the salary.
Oh, like the
cap.
franchise
tag,
yeah.
Whatever they call it in baseball. I'm absolutely blanking on what that's called. It's actually $20 million now. So if he would have kept that and stayed with Toronto, he'd make the same amount of money. So if he opts out after year one, what are we doing here? Anyway, going to San Francisco, going to reunite with Bob Melvin. Kind of cool.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about this deal. I don't know if this makes San Francisco that much better. Had okay season in 2023, a 240 average, 17 home runs, 54 RBIs. Pretty middling from a guy who was looking to make over 100 mil. What do you got, bud? Anything you like?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. This is just my thoughts on it. I feel like Matt Chapman is still like riding the wave of those glory years in Oakland that he had when he was, a lot younger. And I feel like he, with good reason, was viewed as, other than Arenado, I feel like he was viewed as probably the top defensive third baseman, and obviously he had some really good offensive years in Oakland when, him and Matt Olson and Marcus Semien, all those guys that are no longer in Oakland that were so good.
Yeah.
I feel like that was kind of his best years. And so what's really interesting, though, is, you kind of said it. I mean, he's really been like kind of a 240-ish type of hitter for the last several years.
I mean,
and
less.
Even lower than that in some years. And I just have a hard time believing that there was a huge market out there. And honestly, it feels like there wasn't that big of a market out there.
Yeah.
I will say this. I do like the Giants getting him. I think that he will help the Giants. Obviously, he's still really, really good defensively, and he's very streaky at the plate. And the Giants definitely need some more impact bats in that lineup, in my opinion. So I do like the fit in San Francisco, but I'm amazed at some of these guys holding out so long.
Yeah.
Thinking that just magically a team's just going to appear and offer this crazy big contract, and I just don't see it happening.
Yeah.
My last point, and then I'll let you go. I'm curious if some of these contracts that we've seen over these past couple of off seasons are maybe scaring off a little bit a few of these teams. Like
Yeah.
I'm thinking about, kind of the Correa situation the last year or so. I'm thinking about maybe even the Bogarts. I mean, I know we're only 1 year into that massive contract that San Diego signed Bogarts to, but
Oh yeah.
obviously it was not a great year one. So I'm just wondering if, teams are looking at those as kind of case studies
Yeah.
and being like, I don't know if we want to lock ourselves in with big money with this kind of an aging veteran. So that's
Yeah.
just my thoughts, just my opinion. And so curious to see what you think, Cody.
Yeah. It's an odd crop of free agents that we're running into this problem. This
Mm-hmm.
is the Boris formula. Like they wait until the end. I was reading an article earlier this week talking about how in 2019, I don't know if you remember this, Bryce Harper, I didn't. Bryce Harper, Manny Machado, they didn't sign until late. I think Machado signed just before spring training started, and then Harper signed like a week or 10 days into spring training with the
Yeah.
Phillies. Um, Listen, this is a different. Those guys are different levels, and
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
I understand everybody's. I mean, it seems like with Michael Conforto. Do you remember him? He signed
Yeah.
with Boris as a
Mm-hmm.
client, and then everybody was like, "Oh yeah, he's going to get 80 to 100 million
Yeah.
dollars," and it's just like, for what? It doesn't make
Right.
any sense. Like this crop, and I'll throw Correa in there, but you can put Snell, Montgomery. Like these are not the same level guys, and I feel like Scott Boras is walking in trying to do the same
Mm-hmm.
song and dance, and for whatever reasons, there's multiple different reasons we've talked about. Um, as far as teams not wanting to go after money, you can look at TV deals. You can look at teams like the Red Sox just out of nowhere not spending
Mm-hmm.
money. Yankees are going to have to spend 110% on the dollar if they want to
Right.
sign anybody else. So, it's a lot of maybe they won't go after Blake Snell. So you have these guys with a lot of question marks for the amount of money that they're going to try and demand on the free agent market. It is pretty wild because you look at this is kind of that moment all these players always look towards, like, okay, you hit free agency and that's when you get paid. And then what we're fixing to talk about, we can move on. Zach Wheeler, again, I'd put him a little bit higher tier than the two pitchers in Jordan Montgomery and Snell, but he gets an extension. He didn't hit free agency. He gets an extension with the team that knows him and loves him. And he gets paid a lot more than these teams are offering right now. So I don't know if it's kind of the climate of the finances in Major League Baseball currently among the big teams, or it's just the caliber of free agency we're looking at with these Boris 4, now Boris 2.5, if you want to count JD Martinez. Meantime, and this isn't really on the sheet, but like Blake Snell, we talked about this. Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery will not be ready for opening day. I don't know
Right.
what they're doing independently or if they're working together. Who knows? They will not be ramped up in time to pitch in 2 weeks because that's what we're looking at. It is what is it, the 4th of March?
Yeah.
No, 5th.
Fifth. Yeah.
Yeah, so we are 2 weeks and a day away from opening day in South Korea. So uh, opening morning, 6 a.m. our time.
Right.
So I'll be up. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that. Moving on, Zach Wheeler. This is something we can get excited about. Man, he got paid, dude. Reached an agreement, 3-year extension totaling $126 million over 3 years. Will, wow. It'll begin after this year, so 2025. It runs through 2027. And it's with the Phillies, man. They also locked up earlier in the offseason Aaron Nola, very exciting. 7 years, $172 million. So their co-aces are good to go. It is the highest SPAAV in MLB history in terms of an extension. I think either JV or Max Scherzer, one of them got just a splash more.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, pretty exciting for the Phils. Anything on this?
I mean, I love the move. I'm a big believer in when a guy finds somewhere and reaches his peak performance, why change it?
True.
And so since what Zach Wheeler has put on a Phillies uniform, he's been a totally different pitcher. Not that he was bad in New York, but man, he has transformed himself from, I would just in my opinion, when he was a New York Met, I thought he was kind of an above average pitcher that obviously had a ton of ability, but he didn't really put it all together.
Yeah.
But as soon as he came to Philadelphia, man, he has emerged as one of the best starting pitchers in all the league, and he's been that way for several years. So,
Yeah.
having said all that, I love the move. I think it makes perfect sense for Philadelphia to, obviously sign him for the next several years. They're not in it for a crazy long period of time, but I think this definitely gets Philadelphia and Zach Wheeler well into this championship window that they're currently in. So,
Yeah.
and it makes Zach Wheeler obviously one of the highest paid arms in all of baseball, as you mentioned. So, I think it's a great deal for both sides, and let's see more of playoff Zach Wheeler all the way through the season. I'm ready for it.
Dude, I know it's exciting. We got him for 4. To me, it's like, okay, you got 4 more pretty solid cracks at the egg, because you're also looking at like Bryce Harper's 31.
Yep.
So we're kind of,
that's
I don't
their
want to say we're not leaving his prime, but dude, I don't know if you remember this. When he signed with Philly on that 5-year, I think it was 110.
People were like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?"
Yeah, they were roasting the Phillies, and man, I can't even think in recent memory of a extension or a contract that it's worked out this well for the team when everybody thought they got it wrong. So I can't be more happy, for the guy and for the Phillies fans. I mean, we all see him in October. That's a fun atmosphere. Shout out to Dave, Dave Dombrowski did it again. He goes into the owner's office and he convinces them to spend their money. And I miss that as a Red Sox fan. But, it is what it is. And I'm happy for them. And I hope they find success. What do you think? Do they need to win a title? I've never really asked you a question.
Who, Philly?
Yeah. Like, okay. In the next 5 years, you think they're winning a title?
I do. Yeah. I think one of these, in the next, let's say 2 to 3 years, even though you got the Dodgers and the Braves, I think the Phillies will figure it out. I think they'll get them one.
Hey, you got them in the World Series.
I do.
2024. Ooh, I can't wait to hear about who they're going up against. Hey, real quick before we do that, little hit and run, some injury stuff real quick. Let's see. Ronald Acuna. Obviously, I don't know if you guys were paying attention. We had a little bit of an injury scare, some irritation to his right meniscus, but everybody is saying it's going to be good. We just heard news on that today. So the consensus ADP, number 1 pick in fantasy baseball. You had 36 hours, Will, to draft, and he might have fallen to number 2.
Number 2,
NFBC, his ADP went from 1 to 1.7. So somebody was like even taking him at 3. I don't know what league that is, but send me an invitation. But it's going to be good to go. They're just going to kind of stop for right now and then gradually reintroduce different baseball activities. And they're saying the reigning MVP will be ready for opening day. On a sadder note, JV is looking like Justin Verlander, that is. He's going to start the season on the IL. No setbacks like we talked about. No setbacks that I've seen or they've reported, but they just want to restart his kind of ramp up to the season. And then this is kind of a weird one, but because there's a lot of little ticky-tack injuries, but this one is something more serious. San Francisco's Tristan Beck, he's a prospect with them. He's got, some pedigree there. He's shut down for throwing for 8 weeks. He has an aneurysm in his right arm. So, prayers up to that guy because he's a young kid, and San Francisco was really looking at him to do big things. Anything stand out with these 3?
I'll hit on the Verlander. We've said over these past couple of years that Father Time is undefeated, and we've seen it really play out. We've talked a lot about Max Scherzer, especially towards the end of last year, and it really honestly feels like the same thing is kind of going on with Verlander. I mean, these guys are sure bet Hall of Fame guys, but no one is immune to Father Time. And I think I have to believe, based on the Astros track record of the past few years, I have to believe that they're hopefully going to play this very cautious.
Yeah.
Kind of beginning with the end in mind, knowing that the postseason is the goal. ideally they want to keep him as fresh and as healthy as possible going into September, October, assuming they're going to be in contention. And so it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out. Because here's the thing, this is just totally my opinion, but I think that there's got to be a lot of truth to it. I mean, the days of Justin Verlander pitching 180 to 200 innings are over.
Yeah.
And so the goal right now is, number one, get him healthy. And number two, how do we preserve his health going into September and October?
Yeah.
But this is a big deal, man. I think Framber Valdez is probably the ace of that staff at this point.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: the Astros have some questions in that pitching rotation now, because Christian Javier had a rough season last year.
Yeah.
Hunter Brown was super hit or miss. We've talked about Verlander's health now, so the Astros really need to get this rotation figured out, because that AL West is not getting any easier.
No, I mean, when you play in a division with the Athletics, all right, you can't even take moments off. You got to be locked in. And the Angels. Angels. I'm going to start calling them No-Hay because, I'm sorry, guys. That was a terrible joke. Hey, that's the perfect transition, though. You're talking about the West. Let's talk about the whole American League, Will. We're going to dive in, guys. This is just what we did last year. We'll look at divisions. Then we'll look at the divisions. We're going to crown the division champion here in March. Sorry to ruin the whole season for you, but that's what we're here to do, because we're going to nail this. Right, Will?
That's right.
And then we got wild card predictions, and then we're going to let you know our ALCS and American League champions. Then I guess we predict the World Series after that point, right,
Might
Will?
As well.
Yeah, why not? We're here, and we're having a good time. Let's see. Then we'll do Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, MVP, and we'll get on out of here. And next time you talk to us, we'll be one show closer to regular season.
Yes.
So it's going to be a lot of fun. Will, you kind of touched on it a little bit, man. When you look at the American League, just overall thoughts. Take it away.
I mean, when I look at the American League as a whole, I mean, I think that, I mean, it's loaded. I mean, the AL East, which we'll highlight here in just a second, and then the West, I mean, those are, in my opinion, I think those are the deepest two divisions in all of baseball. I think you can make an argument for the NL West now with the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks, and then you got the Padres Giants in there too. So that's a really good one. But I mean, the NL East, obviously people think of, oh, what about the Braves and Phillies? Well, that division feels really top heavy right now, because I don't think those other teams are really big players at the moment. So going back to the American League, though, this is a crazy good league. I mean, I think the AL East, I think 4 of those teams could absolutely get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think that in the West, I mean, I get that the A's and the Angels are in the West, but man, Seattle, Houston, Texas, man, those are some pretty loaded rosters right there.
It's
so
true.
And the Central is getting better. I feel like the Central is trying to get better. They're just not quite there yet. But man, this is a loaded league, and whoever wins the American League is going to be a well-deserving pennant champion. I can assure you that.
No doubt about it, dude. Let's dive into the East. We'll start like we did last week. Let's look at the standings from last year, where we left off, man. Baltimore, they took the crown. 101 wins, what it took to do it. 61 losses. Tampa Bay, 99 and 63. Somehow, some way, they just find it, man. It's awesome. The Blue Jays, 89 wins, 73 losses. Yankees, 82 wins, 80 losses. And we're not going to talk about the other team. We're just not going to do it. No, the Red Sox, 78 and 84, 23 games back at first. It felt worse than that, actually. It felt like when I was watching it, they probably won like 60 games. So this is encouraging, okay? The AL East, man, who you got taking home the crown?
Man, this is a tough one. I think you could honestly make a fairly legitimate argument for about 4 teams. And I'm not going to say yet the team that I don't think is in there, but
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Thank you.
here's kind of how I see this division unfolding. I think that I think the Orioles are going to continue to build on what they did last year. Um, I think the missing link to the Orioles was a true ace,
Hmm.
and guess what? They solved that about 3 weeks ago in Corbin Burns.
That's right.
Now, having said that, I think the not having Felix Batista in the ninth inning is going to be a really, really, really big deal.
Yeah,
Um, and I hope it doesn't cost them, um, especially in the playoffs, assuming they make the playoffs. But I have a feeling that injury to Felix Batista and him not being there this year
yeah,
might be the difference in them honestly not making the World Series. That's just my opinion.
yeah.
Um, but this
And,
division, man, is so loaded, man. I think I'll just kind of get to it. I think that I think it's going to be a close race between Baltimore and the
okay.
Yankees. As much as
Ooh,
I do not want to say that,
yeah.
I'm just gonna I shoot it to you straight. So
That's it.
I think the Yankees are going to be vastly improved this year. I think Juan Soto is going to make an unbelievable difference in that lineup. I think they're going to score a ton of runs. I think the pitching staff. I think the pitching staff is not going to be one of the greatest out there, but I think it's going to be solid enough.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
think with
the potential is definitely there. I mean, you got like three guys that if they can get back to what we've seen in their career in
mm-hmm,
Rodon, Cortez, and then Stroman, I feel like is
yep,
is pretty consistent.
and
Um,
Garrett Cole,
well, I was just speaking on the three
yeah,
guys that if they can come back, I like Garrett Cole, and I'm a big Clark Smith guy. I think he's got
yeah,
some nasty stuff. If he can put together, he's 28, so like it's time to go now.
yeah,
But yeah, I love the. Oh man, yeah, I love the
yeah.
rotation, especially at the top. I mean,
Yeah. And here's
I,
my thing with the Yankees. Like, that front office, that fan base, that organization is dying to get
yeah,
back into like major contention. And so my thoughts on the Yankees is as long as they're in it the first few months, they're going to go out and get something at the trade deadline if they need it. So if they feel the need to
yeah,
bolster that rotation come trade deadline time, they're going to do it because
hmm
I just get the impression that the time is now with the Yankees. I think they're sick and tired of kind of playing second fiddle.
yeah.
And you know what? I think that this is going to be the year that they really do kind of start making some noise again. So I'm going to say that the Yankees are going to win the division.
Wow. Okay.
I'm going to say that Baltimore comes in a very close second and is the
Yeah.
first wild card team. I'm going to pick Tampa because I don't have any other logic to pick them third other than the fact that they're Tampa Bay and they
Yeah.
always figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick the paper champion Toronto Blue Jays to once again disappoint and finish fourth in the division.
Oh yeah.
And I think that the Blue Jays are going to have major offseason changes come next offseason.
Yeah.
And then, unfortunately for Cody,
Mm.
I think that the Red Sox would win the AL Central if they were in the AL Central. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, they're in the AL East. And so,
Yes.
therefore, somebody has to finish fifth. And unfortunately, because the Red Sox refuse to go out and get pitching help that they need, they're going to
Yeah.
finish fifth.
Oh man, yeah, it's not. Yeah, we won't touch on it, but it's not looking good. We had some bad Lucas
Yeah.
Giolito news this morning. Nothing's been like finalized, but he's probably out for the year. I like your take, man. I like the Yankees pick. I went a different direction. No surprise, I guess. If you think it didn't take the Yankees, I went Baltimore, man.
Yeah.
I like everything they got going on. The one thing we said, and you said it when you started talking, East is they need an ace, and they went
Mm-hmm.
out and got the aciest of all aces. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, let's see what they can piece together in the bullpen. Obviously, white knuckle Craig Kimbrell is always something that makes me a
Mm.
little nervous. And quite honestly, if you told me he will not be closing games for them in May or June, wouldn't be surprised. I don't know who's going to do it.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a front office now that they wouldn't make the Burns move if they didn't realize like the time is now.
Right.
So I feel like they're going to make trades or moves or whatever. You also have Bradish potentially coming back, John Means potentially coming back. Oh, Means will definitely be back.
Hopefully Bradish comes back. That injury
Bradish
scares me. That injury
Yeah,
really scares me.
starting to feel like more of a coin flip with the whole Bradish thing.
Yeah.
But Means should be back.
Yep.
He's just kind of having a slow build.
Grayson Rodriguez.
Yeah, Gray Rod, man. Yeah, there's a lot of guys to like, dude. When you're looking at on this rotation, even Cole Irvin, dude, was looking nasty from the left side in a spring training game I was watching the other day. So we'll see what happens. All that to be said, I think if you told me Toronto won the division, I would not be that surprised. If we get to the end of the year and you're like, oh, you're telling me a team with Kevin Gossman and Jose Barrios and blanking on other guys. Alek Manoah is probably going to be in AAA, throwing at people's noggins, and maybe these guys finally click and pull it off. I'd be surprised. Yeah, big maybe.
Credit goes to Justin Turner if they do.
Dude, no kidding. Imagine.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah. Imagine if he actually pulls that off. That'd be amazing. So I'm going Baltimore. Let's talk Central. One of the less interesting divisions to talk maybe on the surface, but that's why we're going to dive in a little bit. Last year, the champions were the 87-75 Minnesota Twins. Only team that went to the playoffs in this division, because you have the Detroit Tigers with the identical record of the Red Sox, 78-84. So your point is well taken, Will. I like it. Cleveland Guardians finished third. Didn't think I had that on my bingo card. 76-86. And then the White Sox, 61-101, followed by the Royals, 56-106. Dude, you look at the Royals on paper and you're like, they can win 60 games. They did not, And Bobby Witt had a great year, so that's pretty tough. Central takeaways. What do you like? Who's winning it? Tell me that. I got to know.
Oh man, this is honestly probably the toughest division to call, just because it's just smells of mediocrity.
I
think the same thing is going to hold true this year. I think there's only going to be one team out of the playoffs, and that's going to be the division winner. I have thought about this a long time, and I've kind of flipped back and forth on it. But here's what I'm going with. I think I still don't trust the Twins. I don't know how they pulled it off last year, quite honestly. I think they were just the best of a bad bunch, quite honestly. But I think that's going to change this year. I think that the team that I feel like I like the most in the Central right now is the Tigers. And here's why. I like the Tigers because I think that they've got not necessarily a bona fide ace, but I think they have the potential to have a couple of really, really good 1, 2, 3s if they all pan out. I think Skubal, if he can stay healthy, can be a really, really good pitcher.
I got a hot take if you want to hear it.
Go for it.
If he stays healthy, he throws 170 innings healthy.
Yeah.
I think he wins the Cy Young. He is that nasty. Carved up my Red Sox, dude. I mean, not the baby Red Sox. Well, I guess the baby Red Sox is everybody not named Devers, but he also made Devers look silly. If he can stay healthy, I'm a little nervous he has a little DeGrom in him.
Yep.
And when I say that, I mean he throws so freaking hard, almost harder than he needs to. And it's not like 104. It's like 99, but he used to throw 96. And so it's like, okay, where'd the uptick come from? And this is a guy who's a elbow and shoulder stuff. Yep. And so it's like, okay, just, he's gross. From the left side, he's gross. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. He's big time. I mean, I think that the problem is, though, is he's never been able to stay healthy to this point. So, until somebody like that proved that they can stay healthy, kind of like a Tyler Glasnow we've touched on in the National League, until they prove that, until they break through that glass ceiling, so to speak, they got to do it. right?
Yeah, I
So,
agree.
anyways, going back to the Tigers, like I feel like they've got a guy like Scooble that could easily be their number one. I like what I've seen so far out of Matt Manning. He's just got to be more consistent. Casey Mize is supposed to finally be healthy, former number one overall pick.
Yeah, see something.
Yeah, and so the Tigers, they've got pitching. The bullpen's okay. The lineup got better as we went on last year. Here's what they really need though. They really need Riley Green, guy like that, to solidify himself as not necessarily a superstar, but they need him to be a star for
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
Somebody like Kerry Carpenter doesn't need to be a one-hit wonder. Like, he needs to produce in that lineup.
yeah.
Guys like Badu and just up and down that lineup, like, even a veteran like Javi Baez. Like, I don't expect Javi Baez to be MVP again, but
No,
I do expect him to at least provide some sort of stability in that
he's got to
lineup.
strike out less than 30% of the time. I mean,
Right.
he's their highest paid player. But was he
Right.
getting 30 mil a year? He's got to do something. I mean,
Yeah.
he's turned into the anchor of this team. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm with you, man. That's what I was gonna say. I think they have him. Roster Resource has him penciled in at 7th, but I saw
Yeah.
him projected to bat 9th
Yeah.
in the lineup, and it's just like, how? I mean,
Yeah.
what happened to this guy? It hasn't been that long. He's 31.
Yeah.
Same age as Bryce. So
Yeah. And I think the question for the Tigers though is, I touched on Riley Green needing to be a star. Also, can Spencer Torkelson be that star as well? Like, if they can get if we get halfway through the season and we're like, yes, Riley Green and Torkelson are stars,
yeah,
then I think the Tigers are the best team in this division. I really do. So, I'm going to say Detroit wins the division. I'm going to say Minnesota, just purely based on their rotation being pretty solid, I think is going to finish second. I think the Guardians are going to be extremely average again. Just not enough bats in that lineup to go around Jose Ramirez. So I think the Guardians are going to finish third. I've got the Royals going from 5th to 4th.
Nice.
I think the Royals are going to be better. They're just not quite there yet. And then I've got the White Sox bringing up the rear. I think the White Sox are just I think they're honestly going to have to build this or tear this thing down to the
Luis
bones.
Robert.
Yes, keep Luis Robert and
then go
everybody
from
else
there.
needs to go.
I agree.
And I think that's where we're at in the Central.
I like it, dude. I like it, dude. I like everything you say, and I like Detroit to get second. I'm sticking Minnesota, man. I like Byron Buxton. I just do.
No.
Just I thought I had you fixed. I thought you fixed your Buxton love. No, I still love him, dude. No, but that's not why I'm picking Minnesota. I like the top half of their rotation a lot. Lopez, Joe Ryan had a pretty tough second half, but if you can have more first half for the whole season, I'd take that. And then Bailey Ober, some guys I really like there. Obviously Yohan Duran, that's your man crush. So that's great. And then Royce Lewis, Byron Buxton, Kirilloff, if they can stay healthy and be who they're supposed to be, Edwin Julian is like his time because they traded Polanco away.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of youth. They went out and traded for a kind of a sneaky leadership guy, Carlos Santana. I'm kind of excited to see because he put up pretty solid numbers in Pittsburgh last year. So what can he do? And then it's going to be the same conversation. It's probably not fair to lump them together, but Carlos Correa, Javi Baez, like, okay, Correa, you got to bounce back, man. You got to do something. You're proving everybody in Houston right now with how you've performed. So, and I believe he will. I really do. I think if he can stay healthy, I don't think it's going to be a problem. And so for that reason and the lack of competition, ask me 5 years from now, I texted you about this. I might go Royals, but it's just so dependent on what they do. And I think we talked about that. That's one of our pillars. But I'm going Twins now. I do like where the Tigers, very akin to like Pittsburgh when we talked about NL. Like, I like what they're doing. I like the direction they're driving. But for right now, I'm sticking Twins front running, dude. It's pretty lame, I know. Hey, the West, Will, the West. This is the one I've been so excited to hear your thoughts because we had a tie atop the division. Houston took it because they had the tiebreaker, but 90-72 was their record, and of course, world champion Rangers, that was also their record, 90-72. The Mariners, 88-74. I just saw Oakland's record. LA Angels, 73-89. You don't have it in front of you, do you?
No, I don't.
Would you like to guess how many games they lost? Because I didn't realize it was this bad.
Let's see. Oakland, I'm going to say 111.
I can't tell if it's funnier to say the number they lost or the number they won. They lost 112 games. They went.
Oh, I was one off. Okay.
Dude, that was an incredible guess. Yeah, that was amazing. 50-112 was Oakland.
That's so bad.
Dude, a negative 339 run.
Man, I was hoping that they didn't get to 50, though. I was hoping it was 49.
What is the over-under this year? It's got to be embarrassing. 50? It's got to be like 53. Yeah, it's going to be something stupid.
Yeah.
Just P's and
T's. It's embarrassing.
T's and P's to Mark Kotze, who, right. Played there for so many years and was kind of a staple. And he was like, I'm going to manage here. And then and we'll move on. But this is a team that won 100 games not that long ago. Now they're going to Vegas. So maybe they're going to Vegas, Will. Okay. In the West, dude, this might be I don't know. It's close. The East, the West. This division stacked. Who's winning the thing?
Yeah, this division's tough. You got three really good teams, in my opinion. All really with a little bit different strengths, which is kind of fun too. Let's start at the bottom. The A's, they're finishing last. They're going to probably have the worst record in the whole league again. Just an embarrassment of a team. That's all I'll say about the A's. I think the Angels are trying to get to A's territory, but they're just not quite that bad. Feel horrible for Mike Trout. They've got to get Mike Trout out of there. But the Angels are definitely finishing fourth in this division. Kind of feel sorry for Ron Washington as well. But let's talk about the three teams that matter in this division. I think that, I think you could make an absolute legitimate argument for all three of these teams. I'll start with my concerns for all three teams. Let's start with the Mariners. I still don't know if they have quite enough firepower in that lineup, to go with Julio. I know they got Mitch Garver, which I really like Mitch Garver, but I just don't know if, the depth in that lineup is going to win them enough games, at least to win the division.
Yeah.
Let's go to Texas. I have major concerns right now about their starting rotation. Because Max Scherzer's not going to be ready to go until at the earliest June or July. Same thing with Jacob deGrom. He's probably not going to be ready until July at the earliest. They still haven't re-signed Montgomery. So there's a lot of question marks in that rotation.
Yeah.
So that's a major concern for Texas. And then Houston, it's a little bit of the same. Like I've still got my, the good thing about Houston is at least they've got a guy like Framber at the top of their rotation. But behind Framber, I have major concerns with their rotation as well, because I don't know at this point what we can expect out of Justin Verlander. Number one, I don't even know if he's going to be healthy. And number two, if he is healthy, what does he have left in the tank?
Yeah.
And then, as I mentioned earlier, Christian Javier had a rough go of it last year. Hunter Brown was inconsistent, to put it as nicely as I can put it.
That was nice,
but Houston, here's what Houston has. Houston has a great veteran-laden lineup that's going to produce, as long as they're healthy. And that bullpen should be nails. So for that reason, I think Houston is going to win the division once again.
Yeah.
I think Seattle finishes second, because I think Seattle's starting rotation, top to bottom, might be the best in the American League. So I'm going to go Seattle second, and I'm going to go Texas third. I think all three of those teams make the playoffs. The only reason I'm putting Texas third is because I feel like the starting rotation is going to be in shambles for about the first 3 months of the season.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
come July, though, I think they're going to really hit their stride when some guys get healthy. And
Yeah.
I think it's going to be just enough to get into the playoffs. And quite honestly, after what they did last year, they're probably okay with that.
Yeah. Well, maybe they'll come back and
Yeah.
everything. I mean, because we just don't know how everything would have to go pretty dang perfectly for I feel like it to click. Now,
but as good as the lineup is,
the lineup's gonna bang.
They don't need insanely good pitching to hang in there. I think they need to just figure out how do we get through June or July.
Yeah.
Get a little bit above 500 if possible, and then come July, get some upgrades, get some reinforcement backs, and that lineup's just going to continue to mash.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the lineup is
scary.
Is sick, dude. And they're adding this kid Wyatt Langford, who's looking really good, man. And started out a little slow, but he's popped a couple homers in spring training. Oh, I saw 26. I got turned around. I was like, is that when he was born? That doesn't even make sense. Okay. I was like, wait 2 seconds. That's not right. No, he's 22. Young man. Anyway, dude, I think it's gonna be Houston. I don't think it's gonna be that close. And I know what this sounds like. I know it sounds kind of homerish, because if you've listened to this show even a little bit, my first love is the Red Sox, but I married a Houston fan, and so
so you have no concerns about that rotation?
I mean, I have concerns, but I don't have a lick of a concern about their lineup, bullpen, and I'm banking on the Javier bounce back. He had a pretty tough year, and I believe he got roughed up his first start in spring training. But listen, that's just to try on the new uniforms, okay? And then you see how it feels. Make sure no one can see your thighs in the see-through pants, okay?
Can all those aging veterans stay healthy?
We're gonna find out, Will. We're gonna find out. Here's what I know to be true, okay? Jordan's gonna mash. Alex Bregman's playing for a contract. I don't think Jose Abreu. I think we're going to see more playoff Jose than regular season Jose.
Oh, Lord,
I don't think he's done. Hey, put it down, dude. Write it down. I know you got a pen over there. Write it down. Cody says Jose Abreu's not done. Yanier Diaz at catcher, I like it a lot. So obviously they're going to mash, and you already talked about their bullpen. Might be the best in American League. Is Montero going to stink again this year? I don't think so. He had one tough year. Let's see what happens. And I'm still on the Hunter Brown hype train, just because I think the stuff is there. You're not about it. I think he's American League Hunter Green. He doesn't throw as hard.
Oh God, I don't see it.
you don't like that either. That's okay. We'll see what happens.
I could be totally wrong, but I didn't love what I saw out of Hunter Brown last year. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think another year. I mean, he's 25 now. Now I'm second guessing where I'm looking at my ages and the years they were born. So now I'm second guessing. No, I think if this rotation gets healthy, that's the biggest problem. I got a little frustrated with Lance McCullers this week. Like, what happened to that guy? I was reading.
Is he still with the Astros?
Yeah, still with the Astros. He's coming back. Guess when he's coming back? Scheduled to come back in August.
Oh God!
What did he do all off season?
Like, just write him off. Like he's
it's
done.
So frustrating, man. They paid him all that money, and then it's just like he doesn't do anything. I'm confused. Verlander, he will be back, and he's gonna be fine. So you got Framber, JV, Christian Javier. You're concerned about JV.
I am extremely concerned about this rotation. Like think Justin Verlander is going to be fine, and he's 40 something.
Yeah. I think
his shoulders already barking.
I think they're gonna use him in a way that makes sense. I think Texas took a big step back, rotation wise. I would take Houston's rotation.
There's a guy named DeGrom that's coming back in the July.
Maybe we don't know. Maybe
I
not.
would take DeGrom right now over anybody Houston has in that rotation.
I would 100% not do that. I think this is the biggest disagreement in Bringing the Heat history, man. Because I don't think it's going to be that close. And I don't know how you can say it's close when you said they were going to get third. Now maybe it's
No, I think that Houston's going to win the division because of that bullpen. I think that's honestly the only
Well,
reason they're going to win this division.
but
But
I'm
I
talking
think in the
about
playoffs, it's going to be a different story.
you. Okay, I was talking about Texas because you said it's gonna be Seattle, Texas, dude. We'll see. I think I'm not in love with the moves that Seattle made. I
Yeah.
thought they could have done more.
Who do you have finishing second?
Texas.
Yeah.
Texas. But I don't think it's going to be a tie. I think it'll probably be like 4 or 5 games, which I said it's not
Yeah.
close.
No, I can
but
see that.
Not close in a sense of like it's not going to be a tiebreaker. You know?
Yeah. No, I that's kind of what I have in my head too. I just think I think Texas has to survive the first half of the season.
Yeah.
And I think Houston, in order to win the division, they need to get out to a great start. They need to get a comfortable lead through the first 2 months of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And then just kind of, for lack of a better word, cruise. But like Houston is good enough to where if they get off to a good start, and obviously Texas is not near healthy, Seattle's probably going to take a little bit of time to figure out that lineup.
Yeah,
that's why I think, and Houston with such an incredible bullpen on top of their lineup, I just think that Houston is built to win this division.
Yeah.
You know, and that bullpen is awesome. So,
yeah.
I mean, when you've got a guy like Brian Abreu, who's probably going to be your 6th or 7th inning guy, mean, my God, he would close for probably 20 other teams.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Seattle, real quick, I want to touch on them. I feel like it's Julio and then a bunch of 6-hole hitters.
I agree.
And so that's kind of why I'm out on them. And that's kind of why
I love the pitching.
The rotation's like my favorite thing. I think we could look back at this year and say George Kirby is the ace of the staff. I really over Luis Castillo.
I hope so.
I think he's a freaking stud.
Yeah.
And I'm really buying into just doesn't walk anybody. He's so good, man. Anyway, all right, things got a little heated. That's what we do. We bring the heat. We're okay.
Hey.
We're still
You know what's funny though is we both have the Astros winning it.
That's true.
I just think that I have way more concerns with this team long term than maybe what you do, but we'll see how it plays out.
We will see. I'm very excited. It's gonna be interesting to see how it goes down. Speaking of stuff going down, okay, we got our division winners. Now look down in the standings. Wild card. 3 teams that are making it to the dance, buddy. Who do you got?
All right, so wild card. I've got, well, I said it earlier. I said that the Central's only going to get one team, which is the division winner, and that's going to be the Tigers. So, so we've got, wild card. I'd say my first wild card, since I have the Yankees winning the East, I'm going to say the Orioles are the number 1 wild card in the AL, and then I'm going to go Seattle and Texas.
I like it, dude. That's pretty good. I'm not that dissimilar.
So basically, we've got, for my playoffs teams, we've got Yankees as division winner. We've got Tigers division winner. We've got Astros division winner. Then we've got Orioles, Mariners, Rangers.
I like it. I'd love to see it. I think that'd be a pretty fun crew to watch.
I think it would too.
So I went Yankees first wild card.
Yeah.
So we're kind of lockstep there. AL East. Second wild card, Texas. This is where we get a little crazy with it. Will, you ready?
Blue Jays.
Did I share the wrong document with you?
You can't lay off those paper champions. I know you too well.
I can't do it, man. Something about them gets me excited. I think
until they do something, I'm out, man.
Yeah, this is what I wrote down. I wrote this a week ago when we did the NO one. So this is what, and I just looked down and saw this. Okay, this team continuously lets us down, but I do believe it's. I can't believe I put this, but I do believe at some point they'll put it together. On paper, they hardly have a weakness. Plus, in all caps, say it with me, Will.
Alek Manoah.
That's exactly right, buddy.
Yep.
So we got our crews going to October. Who's playing in the ALCS and who's winning it?
This is a good one. You know what? I'm gonna stick with the team that I've got kind of emerging, and that's the Yankees. I think the Yankees are going to be in there. I mean, here's the thing, and look, you and we both have no love lost for the Yankees. So,
This is true.
I'm just kind of shooting you straight on what I think is going to happen. I think you get Garrett Cole, a legitimate lineup, and obviously you've got Aaron Judge, which you've had for several years, but now when you've got a guy like Soto who just makes everybody else in that lineup better, right, including Aaron Judge.
Mm-hmm.
So that lineup is going to look a lot different, and then you still got a horse like Garrett Cole going in the postseason, and he's going to probably pitch at least 2 or 3 times in every single series. Man, I like my chances.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go Yankees in the ALCS. And then the other team I'm going to go in the ALCS is the Rangers. I think the Rangers, like I said, if I'm the Rangers, you just get me to the playoffs like what you did last year, and we'll take care of the rest. Because here's the thing. We got our ace in the hole and Bruce Bochy, who does not lose in the postseason. And then if you can basically, like what I said earlier, if you can tread water for the first half of the season, let the lineup win you games, hold on for dear life with the rotation, you get a couple of reinforcements back in whatever that looks like. DeGrom, Max, go get a trade piece, at the deadline. But here's the thing, man, that lineup it might be even better this year than it was last year when you look at another year under the belt for Evan Carter.
Oh, yeah.
And you get Wyatt Langford probably in there at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, there is literally no holes in that lineup. It reminds me a lot of the American League version of the Braves. And so you just get the Rangers to the postseason, and they are going to be a tough out. And assuming Nate Eovaldi stays healthy, I mean, you could be looking at possibly, I know that we've got injuries to navigate through, but you could be looking at a rotation of Nate Eovaldi, Jacob deGrom, Max Scherzer. And Max Scherzer and deGrom, assuming they get back in reasonable health, should be fairly fresh as far as their shoulder and arm goes by that time. So I'm going to go Yankees Rangers.
I'd love to see it. I think Major League Baseball would love to see it.
I think they would too.
Like reigning champ versus the new look Yankee. Walk your Yankees, man. Everybody's gonna be that team. Could look vastly different going into 2025. Yeah, I love to see it. Tyler Mahle, don't forget about him. He'll be back in the second half, and he was solid.
That's true.
I mean, he was pretty solid. He's a good pitcher, just coming back from injury. So I like it a lot, dude. I'd love to see it. I'm just like playing scenarios in my head. It's very exciting. I think for the Yankees, like, you might have said this. I either read this or you might have said this, but I thought it was such a good point. Rodon is so important to what this team's going to turn into. Because, man, just
and Nestor.
Nestor too, for sure. But they paid Rodon to be the ace that he was in San Francisco. And so, man, if he can come back and do his dang thing, that'd be pretty exciting for the Yankees.
I agree.
Okay, my ALCS, dude, and I think this would be pretty exciting too. I got Houston going to Baltimore. I don't think Baltimore's done making moves. I think if they need to, they will go and they'll trade for whatever they need at the deadline for every reason why I talked about earlier. So pretty excited about that. And then Houston's just going to Houston. In my opinion, until they don't. They're the Freddie Freeman of baseball teams. Until they don't. I mean, one could argue they didn't last year, but 7 straight ALCSs. Until somebody bounces them earlier than late October, I'm gonna keep them in there. But I have. Wait, did you say winner? You didn't say winner yet.
I didn't say the winner. No.
Okay. Who's taking the pennant? I don't want to go first.
So I'm gonna say the Yankees beat the Rangers in 7 games on the shoulder of Garrett Cole coming out of the bullpen in Game 7 to close out the game. And they're gonna somehow, some way beat the Rangers in the ALCS to go to the World Series, where they will face the Phillies.
Well, they'll face the Phillies. I love it. I want to know who wins in a second. I got Baltimore. I think
I like it.
they might be when all is said and done. Now, the only thing that could be an issue for Baltimore is like, what if everybody doesn't take a step forward like we think they will?
Right.
You know, like what if Henderson has a bad year, this, that, or the other? Some of these pitchers that
And
came,
the bullpen.
and the bullpen's a big question mark.
Yeah.
But I just think they're nasty. They got a lot of youth. They're like Cincinnati Reds, exciting on offense with a really solid pitching staff now. So if everybody stays healthy, I think Baltimore's our American League champions, and they are going to face hot Atlanta, going to play the Braves.
I would love to see that.
I would be so okay. We'd have to get tickets. Go down there. I mean, it'd probably be pretty pricey. Hey, Will, who's winning the World Series, buddy? You got Yankees. You got Philly. That's a 2009, right?
Right.
We're running it back.
Right. Yeah.
Last time the Yankees won, it was against the Phillies. Will history repeat itself?
History will not. This is the Phillies year. This is the Phillies year. The third time's the charm.
That's it.
I think that. I mean, I said this even going back to last year. Like the Phillies are the absolute perfectly built playoff team. They've got all the superstar power in the lineup. They've got the big two-headed monster in the rotation and a really solid bullpen to follow it up. And I just think that the way last year went down, I think is going to serve as the right kind of motivation for that team as well. I think everybody basically penciled them in last year against the Diamondbacks, and guess what? The Diamondbacks got them. And so I think that that's going to be at kind of the forefront of their mind all year long.
Yeah.
As I said in the previous episode, I think the Braves will still win the division just because they're so well built for the regular season. But I think come postseason time, man, I think the Phillies are going to make a run like they have the last 2 years. And I think this year's going to be different. I think they're going to win it. And so, Title Town's coming to Philadelphia.
Dude, that would be, imagine that place, the bank, just shaking. TV shaking off the wall. Be so exciting, dude.
Imagine Yankee Stadium if the Yankees are back in the World Series.
You think Soto take a discount? Soto taking a discount free agency, you think, maybe?
Negative.
That's negative. It's not going to be $50 million anymore. It's going to be 55 because he helped you win a championship. So, or get to the series. Hey, I love that pick, dude. I think the Braves are going to put it together. I think this is going to be a little bit like last year, kind of a bummer of a World Series. I think it's going to be like 4 or 5 games. Led on the left golden shoulder of Christopher, middle name, I'm not sure, Sale. Christopher Joseph Sale. That's not his name. I want to get to the bottom of that. I just think they're complete. I'm just, hopefully everybody stays healthy. Everybody I work with will be excited because there's a lot of Braves fans at work, But another great year from Acuna that his meniscus is going to stay intact the whole time. Yeah. And Michael Harris going to be a complete big boy ball player now at the ripe old age of 23. It's Michael Jordan year, so of course he needs to win a championship. Will.
Yeah.
A lot to like about this team. The mustache, the guy with the big thighs, Spencer Strider. That's right. He's back, and he's going to be hoisting the World Series trophy. It's going to be very exciting. I almost said Lombardi. I don't know why I got football. I still can't think of the baseball. It's not a franchise tag. This is going to drive me insane. I've been mildly frustrated because I cannot remember what it's called. Anyway, I'm going to think of it later. I've been thinking of it for the last 1 hour of my life, Will. Hey, real quick, we got to do some hardware, man. This is super exciting. Who you got winning Rookie of the Year?
Rookie of the Year. Oh, let's see. There's some really good candidates. But I think it's going to be one of the young outfielders in Texas. I'm trying to figure out which one I would like to choose because I do love me some Evan Carter. I'm going to go Wyatt Langford because I think Wyatt Langford is going to I think there's a chance that he might not open the season with the club. But I think if that is he very well may be in the lineup from day one. Like he very well could be.
Yeah.
But I think there's a chance that he could start the year in the AAA or AA, whichever one, come up literally a few weeks in and
Mhm.
immediately, like, you see star.
Yeah.
And I think that, I think Wyatt Langford's going to make an impact in that Texas lineup. And like I said, I think that lineup's going to have to carry that team for the first half of the season, and I think he's going to be a big part of it. So let's go
Yeah.
Wyatt Langford for AL Rookie of the Year.
I love it, dude. It's a great call. We're super close, so we're in the same uniform. I went Evan Carter,
Yeah.
and I know it just seems like a slam dunk because it's a little bit like Randy Rosarena, though. You know, remember he
Mm-hmm.
went off in the 2020 World Series, and
Yep.
it's like he's still a rookie. How?
Mm-hmm.
I love this kid. I love the hit tool, man. And he strikes out just about as much as he walks. It's got some pop. Had 2 home runs today. Had a
I
grand.
saw
One of them was
that.
a grand slam. It doesn't count. That's what I tell myself when the Red Sox are beating the Rays 7-4. It's like, doesn't count, Cody. This doesn't mean anything. Don't text Will about it. Bring it up later on the podcast. And I see I
Right.
fit it in. So very exciting. This guy one dotted in 23 games in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Evan Carter did. So he's the real freaking deal. And if you need any kind of validation in that fact, he batted 3-hole and led Texas to a World Series. I mean, it wasn't just him,
Yeah.
but like to Sly. I mean, Mitch Garver. See you later, buddy. And I mean, also Garver had a big hit, and now he's in Seattle, I believe. Very excited for
Right.
him. But anyway, Evan Carter all day long. Cy Young, Will. Who's got the pill?
Ooh, there's some really good candidates. I mean, just think off the top of your head, some of the big time studs in the American League. Like, obviously, you got Garrett Cole. Now you got Corbin Burns. You've got Luis Castillo, George Kirby, both on the Mariners, Framber. I mean, there are some big time arms in the American League. Um, I don't like to vote for a guy who's going to get it back to back, so I'm going to refrain from saying Garrett Cole because of that reason. But I think he's got a great shot. I'm going to say Corbin Burns because I think that I think me and you are both in agreement, Cody, that we think Baltimore is here to stay. They are
Yeah.
legit.
Yep.
I think that Corbin Burns. I mean, heck, I could easily, honestly see a path to where he wins close to 20 games with that defense and that offense in Baltimore now. So I'm going to say Corbin Burns just for the impact that I feel like he's going to make on that team. Usually the Cy Young goes to a guy on a really, really good team. And obviously we expect Baltimore to win a lot of games. And so I'm going to give him a very slight edge over Garrett Cole and Luis Castillo.
I like it. I went Brian Bayo. I just feel like, no, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
Corbin
God.
Burns.
I thought you were serious for a second.
Dang, how much? I should have went longer with that. I feel like I really could have got you going there for a second. Well, that would have been funny. No, I put Corbin Burns. I straight up, dude, I said my gut says go Cole for the repeat, but Corbin's going to come over and carve up the American League, which is essentially what you said.
Yep.
His curveball got hit at a little bit higher clip last year. So if he can get that back to more like 2021, 2022, I think it's just going to be all positive for Burns in a much bigger ballpark. It's not much bigger, but it is a more pitcher friendly left field. No doubt about it.
Can I throw in a real quick sleeper?
Yes.
I think Pablo Lopez for the Twins could be a sleeper that I think a lot of people understand that he's a good pitcher.
Yeah.
But I don't think a lot of people think of him as kind of an upper echelon type of pitcher.
Yeah.
But I think if the Twins, as you predicted, I think if the Twins do end up winning the American League Central and are a little bit more, I don't know, maybe dynamic of a team.
Yeah.
I think Pablo Lopez could very easily get into the Cy Young conversation because I think he is, I don't know, this is just my opinion. I think he is one of the clear top pitchers in the American League and definitely the ace of that staff. So keep an eye on Pablo Lopez as well.
Yep. Tons of stuff to like about that guy. In fact, I think he might be one of the more underrated SP1s in Major League Baseball. And if you watch him, he's a bigger guy than you picture.
Yep.
And I don't know if it's the laundry. I don't know if it's the fact that it's the Twins and it's like, oh, they all seem the same, like this kind of this twinny glob.
Mm-hmm.
But dude's disgusting. I love that call, man. he'll fall in fantasy longer than he should, and so I have him on a lot of teams
Yep.
as my SP1 waiting on pitching. So
He's a great pitcher.
He really is a stud. Speaking of studs, most valuable players, they're usually studs. Who's taking it? Who's taking it home, Will?
Man, Cody, you know how much I love these two guys I'm going to talk about. Like I don't think I'm being a homer.
Yeah.
But I really believe maybe my favorite two players in the whole entire league might be the front runners of the MVP this year. And I think it's Juan Soto or Adley Rutschman.
Ooh,
I'm gonna say Juan Soto just because I don't know. I mean, I could be totally wrong here, and we play this back in October, and everybody's just like, "Oh my God, what was he thinking?" But I think Juan Soto is about to have an unbelievable year. I just have this feeling that he's going to have this insane year just because I think there's a lot of factors in his favor. I think he's got a fresh start. I don't think he was happy in San Diego.
Yeah.
I think number two, the Yankee Stadium hitting there for all of his home games is going to be an enormous plus for him.
Mm-hmm.
I also think hitting in a lineup with Aaron Judge either in front of him or behind him is going to make an incredible difference.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have this feeling he's going to have an incredible year. So, and I think he's going to lead the Yankees to the postseason and do well. So, I'm going to say Juan Soto slightly over Adley Rutschman for MVP.
I think it's a great dude. That's exactly what I got. I don't have Adley at the 2 spot, but Soto, I got this feeling, man.
Yep.
I think the stars are going to align for this guy. Dominican kid, obviously in New York, big presence there. They're going to love him there, and I we'll see what happens in the offseason. We're going to have plenty of time to talk about that. Real quick, we talked about the spring training stats so far. Now it's just 9 at bats, okay? But how's about 6 hits, 3 home runs, 7 RBIs? And he's OPS 2.616. Two. Obviously, like I said, 9 at bats, but the dude is looking good in pinstripes. So,
and he's playing for a record contract. Do not discount that either as a motivational factor.
It's gonna be wild, man. I bet you. I don't know. We're gonna talk about it, but if I had to throw a guess down, I'm gonna say it's gonna be like 55 mil a year to lock this guy up.
Yeah, and I'm more curious about how many years is it gonna take because he's only 25 still.
25. He's a freaking kid.
I mean, somebody could legitimately offer him like 14 years for. Yeah. I mean, God knows how much money.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you even want that? I mean, look at Bryce's deal. Listen, Bryce Harper's deal is going to look like still compared to what he's fixing to sign. I don't know if you heard this. It was after, I don't remember who signed, but then it came out that Bryce Harper wanted to kind of restructure his deal, and the Phillies were just like, no, you're here for the next 8 years. Yeah. You didn't want to opt out, so no leverage. No leverage from Bryce's team. So pretty bold to go off for that thing. But maybe them not messing with the contract enabled them to go and lock up Wheeler and Nola.
Well, hey, imagine real quick though. Imagine if this all holds true. Juan Soto wins MVP and helps bring the Yankees back to the postseason. Imagine what this contract really could look like. I mean, I know that we've got a long way to go until we get there and all the stars have to align, but just imagine if he does put an MVP caliber year together, what the price tag will be.
Yeah. Did they what I was going to say, what was it? It was didn't he turn down 440?
Yeah, with the Nationals, right?
With the Nationals. So he's got that number up there pretty high.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be exciting, guys. Stay tuned. Hey, Will, anything before we go, man? This has been a ton of fun.
It's been a lot of fun. We've got our predictions out there, and now it's time to turn our focus to the fantasy drafts and some fantasy strategy coming up as everybody starts drafting over the next few weeks. So looking forward to this. We're in the home stretch heading into the opening day and the beginning of the regular season. So we're excited about it, and yeah, ready for the next one.
It's gonna be great, guys. Yeah, hang in there. Baseball that counts and matters. The Red Sox 8-4 record's going to be washed away in 15 short days. We all go back to 0-0, and then it's a race to get to October. It's going to be a ton of fun. Keep it tuned in here because we're going to try and keep you up to date on everything, and it's going to be just a blast. Reach out to us on Twitter at BTH_Cody and at Will Sism. If you have any questions or thoughts and kind of draft stuff, that would be awesome. Check us out on YouTube, Bring in the Heat. And guys, we just really appreciate you. Can't wait to get together and talk again. But until next time, thanks for listening to episode 71 of Bringing the Heat.